So we do want to bring in criminal defense attorney Mike Gottlieb. Mike, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So when he escaped, Casey White had 75 years of prison time left. He was awaiting a capital murder trial. Do you think at this point he should ever be eligible for parole?
No, I don't think that he'll ever be eligible for parole. I mean, he's already doing a sentence, as you said. He's got another case pending after this. Eligible for parole, he's somebody who escaped. There's no way that I could see any court that's properly fit giving him parole.
I mean, let's talk about that phone call. What do you make of what he communicated to our Brian Enton about killing another woman at the motel when he was on the run?
So I think that's interesting. That's the art of distraction. So I'm going to confess to a crime that I didn't commit so that I can be brought to a different jurisdiction, unsuccessfully prosecuted, and then I can perhaps say here I'm being wrongfully prosecuted as well. I think it's really interesting, and that's why the authorities are discounting it.
Fascinating. While we have you, want to get your insight into Jorn van der Sloot as well. Right now, he is on a plane headed to the U.S., and he, of course, is the prime suspect in the 2005 disappearance of Natalee Holloway. Now, the FBI is bringing him to Birmingham, Alabama, to face federal fraud and extortion charges, not murder charges. Van der Sloot is accused of promising Holloway's family that he would reveal where their daughter's body was in exchange for hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean, so we're talking about extortion, not murder charges. What is the line at the point where someone says, I know where your daughter is buried, pay me and I'll show you? Can't that be used in building a murder case?
Well, yeah, you can use anything, and what you're talking about is circumstantial evidence, but there still has to be more. And obviously, the authorities don't think they have enough evidence, even circumstantially, to prosecute him for the murder of Holloway. But they do have enough to get him for the extortion. So he did take $25,000 out of the $250,000 that he demanded from the family, and he did extort them. So let's get him on what we can get him now, while we can get him from Peru. So yeah, absolutely. Not enough for the murder, but enough to prosecute.
So he took money from that family. As far as your knowledge goes, did he actually reveal anything or indicate where the body was buried?
I believe he did not.
Okay. He's already been sentenced in Peru for a different woman's murder. If he is convicted in Alabama, would he have to serve time in the U.S. or does he go back to a prison in Peru?
Well, that's an interesting question because he is on temporary loan from Peru. He's not a Peruvian citizen. He's not a United States citizen. He's a citizen of the Netherlands, but they're not getting involved. So it's an interesting question whether Peru would want him to finish his 28-year sentence there and then extradite him back to the United States to serve any sentence he may have on the extortion. So I don't know the answer to that, but it's an interesting dilemma.
One more case that we're tracking right now, this developing story out of Minnesota. The ex-boyfriend of a missing mom now in custody on suspicion of second-degree murder. Maddie Kingsbury vanished on March 31st after she and her ex dropped their 2 kids off at daycare, and police arrested Adam Fravel after human remains were found off of a highway in southeastern Minnesota. Police saying the remains have not been identified yet, but they're working quickly to try to make that determination. In fact, we are expecting to get a live update from law enforcement soon. Of course, we'll be tracking that. Why do you think they charged him with second-degree murder and not first-degree? What's the distinction there?
So first-degree murder is a planned, premeditated, well-thought-out murder where you set a goal to kill somebody and then you do it. Second-degree murder is, by and large, something that happens sort of spur of the moment, heat of the moment. It's made out of passion, or a depraved mind or a depraved heart. So it doesn't necessarily need planning and forethought. Those are the main distinctions.
I appreciate that. Want to get your insight, the latest in the Koberger trial as well, the man accused of killing 4 Idaho college students. He wants to keep cameras out of his upcoming murder trial. There's a new court filing that we're looking at. Brian Koberger's attorneys arguing that there is a bias against him, people on social media analyzing every single move that he makes in court. So far, a judge has cameras in every single hearing. How do you think the judge will rule here? How compelling is their ask?
This is a very delicate balancing between the public's right to know what is going on with a trial, and trials should be public because we need to see that justice is being handed out appropriately and fairly. But at the same point in time, we need to balance that with a defendant's right to a fair trial. And how can a defendant have a right to a fair trial if everything is publicized to the point where it really poisons the jury pool? So it's a very delicate balancing, but I suspect the judge is going to allow the cameras in the courtroom, but perhaps limit what they can show.
Okay, Mike Gottlieb, appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.